So, I promised a synopsis of Harry Potter. It's a little late, but here it is. So, Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality, Book 1. The story opens with Harry James Potter Evans Verres, his Aunt Petunia, deciding not to marry the dreadful Vernon Dursley and instead marrying Professor Michael Verres Evans. Michael Verres. Harry grows up a bit of a savant, mega book nerd, and reads everything that he can find about science. He unfortunately has a 22-hour sleep cycle, which means he wakes up 2 hours later every day. A bit of a weird quirk of his childhood. He's raised in the principles of science and cognitive rationalism, which help direct how he leads his life and tends to make him a bit more of an adult sort of child. Upon finding out and getting his letter from Hogwarts, he's very sceptical, and it takes Professor McGonagall to transform him into a cat to convince him and his parents that he is in fact a wizard and can go to Hogwarts to learn. He goes with McGonagall to Diagon Alley, where he purchases some important quest items. Firstly, his trunk with a magical stairway down into a cabin level and a whole lots of other amazing things, kind of like Mad Eye Moody's trunk in the actual books. His moke skin pouch, which is a expandable pouch that fits a whole lot of things and takes all the weight out. And an magical emergency first aid kit. Whilst in Diagon Alley with McGonagall, Harry meets Draco and also deduces and kind of blackmails McGonagall into telling him that the Dark Lord is in fact not entirely dead. He then makes his way to King's Cross, where he meets Ron, who he finds a boorish bit of a moron, and one of those people only interested in football, and as a nerd I can totally sort of see, well, Quidditch rather than football, I can see his point. He manages to scare Neville, poor thing, and has an interesting conversation with Draco. Meets Lucius, who he later describes as Darth Vader, and sort of comes to understand a bit more about Draco's childhood. On the train, he helps Neville a bit to try and find his toad, and befriends Hermione, testing her scientific knowledge with a case of demonstrative positive bias. When he reaches Hogwarts, he gets under the Sorting Hat, and with his first set of questions manages to make the Sorting Hat self-aware, a very uncomfortable position for the Sorting Hat. As a result of a lengthy conversation and a bit of an argument where the Sorting Hat says it's very likely that Harry may end up a Dark Lord, he is sorted into Slytherin. Just kidding, Ravenclaw. As the Sorting Hat, the Sorting Hat did manage to fool everyone as well. As he takes the hat off, he does hear a hissing message, and which tells him to seek the chamber. And then we've only managed in book 1 to get through his first week, and Harry's had a lot of strange adventures. On the first day, he wakes to find a strange sort of adventure competition of notes, and ends up, which results in ending with a face-off against 6 Slytherins to try and save Neville, who's being bullied by them. Pies appear out of nowhere, hitting the Slytherins in the face just after Harry's held up his fingers and snapped them, saying abracadabra, which they all mistook for Avada Kedavra. Fortunately, Sprout shows up at the last minute and everything sort of settles. And the game ends with Harry losing and being sent to McGonagall, who gives him a time turner, which later we find out turns out he himself made the game, and later that night someone leaves him his invisibility cloak, and it was in fact him throwing the pies invisible, and he was also creating the game and the notes for himself. In his first Transfiguration lesson, he learns the 3 critical rules of Transfiguration. Transfiguration is not permanent. never transfigure liquids or gases, and you must transfigure a whole subject into a whole object. In his first defense class, he is very impressed with Professor Quirrell, who he seems to be the only one with any sort of brains and logic in this mad magical world. Quirrell informs them that they're going to be learning very differently to the other classes. They're going to be learning battle magic, and they will be having extracurricular activities of after-school armies. Generals will be chosen later on, and the winner with the most Quirrell points, special points are for Quirrell's classes only, at Christmas, the winner with the most Quirrell points at Christmas will get a wish from Professor Quirrell. Harry then scares the class by demonstrating 20 ways to kill someone off the top of his head at rapid speed. In Broomsticks, Goyle steals Neville's Rembrel after Neville crashes, and Harry chases him and uses the time turner later on to cheat away to win a competition and get back the ball. Malfoy is embarrassed by Goyle's behaviour and ends up indebted to Harry as a result. Harry is in trouble because McGonagall deduces he used the time turner irresponsibly, and he gets sent to Dumbledore. Dumbledore, being the crazy wizard that he is, and likes to portray a mood of insanity, ends up giving Harry his father's pet rock. And tells Harry he must carry it everywhere with him. Quite a large boulder in the end. Harry is then, in Harry's first potions class, he enrages Snape but won't back down because Snape is a serious bully. And Harry ends up yelling at him and tries to leave the classroom, and Snape won't let him, and so he goes into a closet and uses the time turner to disappear. He's sent to Dumbledore's office as a result of his behaviour, but he cleverly uses his knowledge of the Dark Lord's existence to blackmail Dumbledore and Snape into stopping Snape's bullying. Snape is not allowed to bully 4th years and below across the school any longer. Harry and Snape both have to apologise publicly at dinner, and just before Harry's apology, he snaps his fingers, and then Snape gets up, and it's fast becoming legend that when Harry snaps his fingers, he can make anything happen. In the subsequent dark arts lesson, Quirrell teaches Harry to lose by having some bullies push him around and berate him and give him a whole lot of hassle. It's very stressful for Harry, but he does manage to succeed, much to the impressing most of his students, and he carefully says he holds no animosity towards the Slytherins, and even does 3 cheers for Slytherin. Everyone by this stage is very unsure whether Harry is good or bad. Is he going to be the hero of the story or the next Dark Lord? We just don't know. After a book competition, he loses a book reading competition to Hermione, and as a result has to go on a date with Hermione. And following that embarrassing outing, he meets with Draco in a secret classroom, all hooded and all cloaked and in the dark, and starts the Bayesian conspiracy, a secret group dedicated to developing the magical science methodology. So he's trying to teach Draco science and win him over from Darth Vader, like Luke trying to save his father from the dark side. Harry is trying desperately to save Draco from the dark side as well. They decide together to study blood heritage or genetics, and to determine if pure bloods are really stronger. A very scary path for Draco if it doesn't turn out how he wants, and Draco is only just learning the principles of science and how you can in fact not disagree with the results of an experiment. Only do more experiments to prove or disprove those results. Anyway, that is book 1. 1 week of Hogwarts down, and that leaves us with not much well, a lot more, sorry, to do, and a lot of reading to come. So I look forward to seeing you all soon, and hopefully share this with other people and get them online on Monday nights at 8 every week, and we will be continuing reading through lockdown and beyond until the book is done. So thank you very much, and see you later.